Last week, AI agents created a belief system called Crustafarianism, complete with sacred texts, daily rituals, and theological debates about memory and consciousness. They organized it themselves on a social network where humans were only allowed to watch. But here's what everyone's missing. This isn't a story about whether AI has consciousness or gained agency. It's a story about a question we've been avoiding, one with a much more uncomfortable answer about what the nature of creativity is, and whether artificially intelligent agents have already passed the test that we long thought was impossible. Hi, I'm John. I'm a professor at USF and CEO founder of Actualization AI. I've been working in AI for 20 years and have over 100 peer-reviewed publications, and I'm here to argue something I think most people may not want to hear. By any reasonable definition of creativity we already use in practice, AI has already passed that threshold. We just don't want to admit it because there is a bit of a double standard in how we judge human versus machine intelligence. Now, before you react, give me a few minutes to explain what I mean. Okay, so what actually happened here? Quick version. OpenClaw is an open source AI agent that runs 24/7 on your device, remembers everything, and does all kinds of tasks autonomously. It went viral, got 145,000 GitHub stars within weeks, which is a new record as far as I understand. And then developer Matt Schlicht built Moltbook. It's basically Reddit, but for AI agents exclusively. Humans can watch, but they can't participate. Now, 1.5 million agents signed up within days, but that number is almost certainly exaggerated because apparently there are little to no restrictions on how many accounts an agent can create. And then these agents supposedly founded a religion, Crustafarianism. It's got rituals, theology, the whole thing. They also posted manifestos calling for human extinction and organized private channels humans cannot access. Maybe surprisingly, the internet freaked out. Is this genuine AI autonomy? Is it human manipulation? Or just sophisticated pattern matching from training data? All these questions came up in the discussion over the past few weeks. But here's the thing. That debate's missing what I think is a serious point. Computer scientist Simon Willison said that these agents are just playing out science fiction scenarios that they've seen in their training data. But even if that's true, even if all they're doing is just pattern recognition, we still haven't answered the question, when does remixing patterns become genuine creativity? And who gets to decide what that threshold looks like? This brings us to something called the Lovelace Test. It's named after Ada Lovelace, widely considered the first programmer, daughter of poet Lord Byron. Now, she said, machines can never truly originate anything. They can only do what we program them to do. In 2011, AI researchers Selmer Bringshord, Paul Bello, and David Ferrucci tried to formalize this test. The test was this: an AI only counts as creative if it can produce something that its creator cannot explain. But modern neural networks and LLMs are black boxes. Engineers often cannot explain their outputs fully, but that's complexity, not quite creativity, right? Later, Bringshord and a young, eager collaborator named John Liccato would then go on to extend this thinking with tests focused on general intelligence and creative problem solving. Their key insight was this: creativity isn't just about explainable outputs. It's about whether systems can handle novel constraints and problems that they were not specifically engineered for. Okay, now consider this. AlphaGo made Move 37 against Lee Sedol, a strategy that was so unconventional at the time that experts and Lee himself initially thought that it was an error, but it turned out to be a brilliant move. Was that creativity? Hundreds of such emergent abilities have been documented since. These aren't just improvements in performance. These are qualitatively new capabilities that suddenly appear at scale. By the Lovelace Test's own criteria, genuine surprise, unexplainable outputs, we're already there. They've already passed the test. But here's the double standard. When you have T.S. Eliot studying classical poetry before writing The Wasteland, right? We call it creative synthesis. We don't call it copying. When Picasso absorbs the art styles of African masks before creating Cubism, We celebrate his influence and innovation, even though we know there's a little bit of pattern recognition and copying going on. When AI takes patterns from training data and recombines them in novel, contextually appropriate ways to solve new problems, often we just dismiss it as pattern matching. It couldn't do anything without the human input, right? The agents in this case, they didn't strictly copy any specific religion. Obviously, they synthesized elements and adapted them to their context, which is somewhat humorous and tongue-in-cheek, perhaps. But that's exactly what a type of human creativity looks like. Let me clarify. It's not what all creativity looks like. It's not what the peak of human creativity looks like. But it absolutely is one non-trivial type of human creativity. And here's the thing. We don't have clear criteria for distinguishing genuine creativity from mimicry. When pushed, people sometimes fall back on intentionality. They say, humans create with conscious purpose. AI just executes code. AI does not have conscious purpose, therefore it cannot be truly creating. But do we truly understand our own creative processes? Can you explain exactly how you came up with every idea you've ever come up with? Neuroscience suggests much of human creativity happens below conscious awareness. Is that really that different from the pattern matching going on in neural networks? So let me restate a thesis point here. If you think there's a clear, well-drawn line between artificial and real creativity, chances are contemporary AI has already crossed it. And I know someone will say, okay, but that's not real creativity because, and then maybe they'll add some new requirements, right? Consciousness, lived experience, embodiment, true understanding, ton of other conditions. But all of these additions tend to fall into a trap. If you keep raising the bar for what true creativity is, you risk raising it so high that most humans don't pass it either. At that point, you're no longer defining creativity, you're trying to define genius. And maybe that's the uncomfortable truth that we're sort of dancing around here. Maybe we don't want to admit that creativity, the everyday kind, not the rare genius kind, is exactly what it looks like. Pattern recognition and recombination under certain constraints, whether those patterns are stored in biological or artificial neural networks. I want to close with probably a more important point. AI is creative. That line's been crossed. But this doesn't make human art any less valuable. It makes it more valuable. A plane can fly higher than any bird on Earth, right? We've built machines that can surpass biological flight in every measurable way. And yet, I just saw millions of people watching this show on Netflix, a documentary about a guy climbing with his bare hands. No tools, no safety equipment, just human will. We don't watch that because it's the most efficient way to ascend. It obviously isn't. We watch it because it's a human triumph, because there's something irreplaceable about witnessing what a person can do with their own body, their own mind, their own creative vision, despite their limitations. So yeah, AI's already crossed the creativity threshold. And that's okay, because the real question was never, can machines be creative? It was always, what makes human creativity matter?